Hi, cities. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. And thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So, we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I came across where this man actually said that black people sold black people, but white people paid for it, right? That did not sound or sit well with me and a lot of people because we all already know what some black conservatives can do when they know. I mean, because that is what they know how to do best. Always looking for a way to tap dance for colored people. And when you check out the comment section, it definitely will also tell you the kind of following that they have. So looking at this man actually have the guts to come out to tell us that the grandmother was actually sold by the father. And I am asking, do we get proof? Because you can't come online to start lying because we all know how this is a lie. Some people really can go to any length, to, try to convince their colored followers or following that some things like, that black, I don't know, but the truth that they are always looking for a way to divert the story at hand, it's just something crazy because for each day they look for a way to tell us that slavery wasn't bad. I mean, it's just we trying to make it look like it was really very bad when they know what they did and all that. And it's really time they stop that tap dancing because this is no longer funny. Coming out to use black people to lie around. Let's get into.
Black people sold black people, white people just paid for it. My great-great-grandmother was sold by her father to another black man, who then sold her to who became her husband and had kids. Not a white person in sight. Well, so while people are being stuck on, especially when I hear this dumbass thing as reparations for slavery, I'm like, dude, slavery was everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
There was slavery in the Arab world, in the Persian world, in the Greek world, in Europe. White, blonde, blue-eyed Polish people were slaves to Germans. So white, blonde, blue-eyed Germans. So what are you talking about? Like slavery is something that only black... You guys play too much respect to racism.
Yeah.
If we were all white or we were all black, we're still going to discriminate
You know
against
what we
each other.
discriminate against? Eye color.
Thank you very
It's
much.
human nature.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
We'll find something, oh, your ear is too big. I tell people, as long as you're a competition, you're a threat. And as long as you're a threat, somebody will try to do something to remove you. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. And on the opposite side, as long as you can add value, doesn't matter if you're black or if you're white, you will be appreciated or recognized. Black people sold black people, white people just paid for it. My great-great-grandmother was sold by her father to another black man, who then sold her to who became her husband and had kids. Not a white person in sight. Well, so while people are being stuck on, especially when I hear this dumbass thing as reparations for slavery, I'm like, dude, slavery was everywhere in the world.
What's embarrassing in this video is not the misinformation or the doubling down on the oppression of African Americans in America or the minimization of their history, but it's a black American trying to pander to an audience that does not even care about him or his history or the oppression of what his ancestors has gone through. This whole argument that black people sold their other counterparts into slavery is just a doubling down white supremacist ideology to minimize and take away from the oppression and the atrocities to what indigenous Africans that was forcefully taken from the African continent and brought to the Americas went through in regards to slavery and the Atlantic slave trade. And it's very ironic how some of you will use this type of rhetoric to say, got you, black people sold their other counterparts in slavery, so not a white people in sight. But still, who took indigenous Africans from the African continent? It was not black Africans from the African continent, and that will always be the truth that a lot of you will not want to acknowledge. The most embarrassing thing is some of you who live in America don't even know about your actual history in regards to what your ancestors had to go through under the hands of colonization, under the hands of slavery, under the hands of indigenous Africans being forcibly removed from the African continent.
Y'all don't ever get tired of this? Y'all don't ever get tired of the same stale, repeated, already debunked, already disproven points? Personally, I would be embarrassed to recycle these same talking points in the information age while we're all walking around with these tiny computers in our pockets. Yes, slavery was happening for thousands of years. Chattel slavery, however, Y'all love to bypass that point. Also, when you say things like this, it doesn't matter the type of slavery. It feels like you're just condoning it. As if to say, oh, well, it's been happening for thousands of years. It's just your turn. And if that's your point, check your humanity, because y'all keep proving that it's been bred out of y'all. Let's talk about this black people sold their own situation. First of all, I need sources, because no one ever provides a source when they say these things. But I can guarantee you that any person of African descent who participated in the chattel human trafficking of other Africans pales in comparison to not only the amount of people who were buying, but also the amount of people who were selling those Africans who weren't of African descent, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Let me wrap this up in a bow by saying this. You coming onto a post where we are discussing the things that we've come through, our pain, our struggle, and saying these flippant things to try to divert the conversation, to try to diminish our trauma, to try to reduce the impact of 4 centuries of enslavement, of human trafficking, of state-sponsored abuse, dismemberment, and harm, of dehumanization that we still face today, with all of its historical ramifications, then all you are actually doing is just showing that you don't have any compassion for people who don't look like you. That you are so accustomed to not seeing the humanity of folks who look like me, and that your gut reaction is to immediately go into defense. All it shows is that you're outing yourself, sweetheart. Remember, history is not debatable. Facts over feelings. Ain't that what y'all like to say? There you go.
Also, didn't Africans sell their own people to America as slaves? Yes, but Africans at that time didn't really view themselves as one people, right? So for the same reasons that Germans and the French don't view themselves as the same people, Africans at that time did not view themselves as the same people. I'm not even sure if they knew there were other races of people. So with that being said, right, they were capturing each other, enslaving each other, or capturing each other and selling them to other people for different types of goods. Now, does it make it right? No. Is there an excuse for it? No. Do many Black Americans a day want to just nicely gloss over that like that never happened? Yes. And again, so many people in today's society want to act as if white people were the only people to do anything bad ever, and that's not the truth. So for educational purposes, let's go through some history. Okay, so for starters, we all know what happened in Germany. We all know who did it, Germans. Okay, but what about the Armenian genocide in 1915 to 1923? Or the Rwandan genocide in 1994? Or the Cambodian genocide in 1975? Well, really, it was between 1975 and 1979. My point is, every race of people seemingly have done terrible things. So I do not understand why we only want to act like white people were the only people to ever do anything, because all you got to do is pick up a history book or Google some stuff and you will see that it's not even close to true. And I just gave you a couple examples. There are probably hundreds of them. So again, let's realize that all races of people have done bad things, and let's move on and let's start building our lives together. It's not that difficult. I don't know why so many people want to complicate it and turn things that don't need to be issues into issues. Okay, and also go back to the beginning of the video, and when I was talking about Africans not viewing themselves as the same people, what I was trying to say is that skin color wasn't really something that tied them together, for lack of better terms. So it wasn't as much of importance then as it is today with a lot of races.
Times when the slave trade is mentioned, you'll always have that one person who has to say, but Africans sold other Africans into slavery. Here's the thing. Africa is a continent full of many countries, of many differing beliefs, and it had multiple kingdoms and different languages and different systems, and all of that was going on at this time. And yes, slavery had existed in Africa for centuries. However, the reason why American slavery differs so much is due to the global scale, its economic and historical effects, and especially the lasting generational effects, both societal and psychological. Slavery in Africa was used as a main source of legal punishment or a result of intertribal warfare. It was never based on race. Usually those that were serving as a slave were serving for a limited term and even had the opportunity to buy back their own freedom. Like for part 2.
One thing that I've noticed as I've started talking about Portugal and its huge role in the transatlantic slave trade is that people have been leaving comments on my videos wanting me to talk about the fact that Africans also participated in the slave trade. So for those people that have been waiting on that, this is your video. I'm going to talk about the Kingdom of Congo, which was located in what is now modern-day Angola, and the role that it played in the transatlantic slave trade. But before we get into that juicy topic, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Kingdom of Congo, because I think it deserves its due justice. It was a very fantastic kingdom in terms of power, in terms of wealth, in terms of expansion, in terms of all of the metrics that we measure kingdoms by. It began in the late 14th century through a political alliance and marriage that produced an heir, seen here. King Lukini founded the capital of the Kingdom of Congo, which was a bustling city and a center for trade in manufactured goods, in natural resources, and in slaves. Historically, Congo had captured its slaves through wars of expansion in which it brought back prisoners of war and sold it in their slave markets, and that brought them a lot of wealth along with the other goods, and they used this currency of cowrie shells to trade. In 1483, the Portuguese arrived, and they really saw all of the wealth that was centered in the Kingdom of Congo, and they wanted in to the wealth, the natural resources and copper mines, and to the slave trade. And so the grand plan of the Portuguese was to westernize the Kingdom of Congo, to make it reliant on goods from the West, such as glass mirrors, such as tobacco, maize, all these types of things that were flowing into the Congo due to its trade with the Portuguese. So once the Kingdom of Congo was having contact with the Portuguese, they began supplying enslaved people to Portugal, because Portugal has large sugar plantations on Sao Tome, in Brazil, and you need people to work those plantations. Unfortunately, as these plantations expand, Portugal is asking for more and more people, more than can be supplied by prisoners of war. And so what happens? Portugal starts going in and kidnapping people just off the street, people who are not eligible to be enslaved under Congolese law. This really angers King Mvimba, who thought that there was an understanding between the Kingdom of Congo and Portugal, and he actually writes a letter in 1526 to the King of Portugal, describing how upset he is that the Portuguese illegal actions are actually depopulating and destabilizing his kingdom, which is of course what Portugal wanted in the first place. Many of our people, keenly desirous as they are of the wares of your kingdoms, which are brought here by your people, and in order to satisfy their voracious appetite, seize many of our people, freed and exempt men, and take them to be sold to the white men who are in our kingdoms. And as soon as they are taken by the white men, they are immediately ironed and branded with fire. And when they are carried to be embarked, if they are caught by our guards' men, the whites allege that they have bought them, but they cannot say from whom. So that it is our duty to do justice and to restore to the freemen their freedom. But it cannot be done if your subjects feel offended, as they claim to be. So he sends the letter to this man, King Zhao III. I don't know if he ever responded to him or not, but the practice is continued until basically the Kingdom of Congo got so fed up that they basically told the Portuguese, we're no longer doing business with you. But because the people of Congo have become so reliant on all these sources of wealth from trading human beings, there started to be internal strife. There started to be factions against the king, and really basically a breakdown of the kingdom. Because the kingdom was no longer powerful, it couldn't do its wars of conquest. It couldn't get its prisoners of war to sell into slavery. So actually, the Congolese people started selling each other into slavery. This made the kingdom even more unstable. And over time, Portugal was actually able to take over the Kingdom of Congo and make it part of the colony of what will become Angola.
You're not black, you're just pathetic. And before you try to quadruple down and try to prove your blackness, I'm going to tell you right off the top how I know you're not black. The fact that you said we have needed workers since the dawn of time, that is some white supremacist shit right there. It's white people that went over and stole people consistently over the ages to have workers. That's part one of the justifications for slavery around the globe, especially for the practice of chattel slavery here in the United States. And the fact that you did not capitalize the being black person, that's a whole nother level of you fucked up. So you will need to stop trying to cosplay us poorly, because you don't pay any attention to who we are, how we are, or anything. You don't study us. You just use us and don't even observe us. But in order for us to survive, we must know every inch of you. And there was nothing necessary about slavery, especially chattel slavery. We were doing just fine. That's why you came. Your ancestors came and stole us. They did not know how to survive this land. They did not know how to cultivate this land. And the indigenous people of this land, they had already screwed over, and they were like, we want no more parts of you. You're working too hard to kill us off. So stop. And then you go on to say it was a necessary evil. It wasn't necessary. It was just pure evil. You can try to justify the wrongs of your ancestors while putting on a digital blackface from sun up to sundown. It does not change the facts, nor does it change the fuckery that you are attempting poorly, piss poorly, on the World Wide Web. The only person that you are fooling has yet to be born.
Historically, slavery is something that people inflict on others, right? You don't, generally speaking, enslave people like yourself. Now, how those borders are drawn may change. So if you go back to ancient Athens, for example, it would have been rare for an Athenian to enslave another Athenian, but he would have had no qualms about enslaving a Spartan or a Corinthian or whatever. There's a kind of notion that you'll hear a lot of people say that Africans enslaved their own people. And in fact, they didn't. In our imagination today, this is one place inhabited by one race of people.
Slavery was brought to North America, period, by white people. White people made the choice to go to Africa and start kidnapping people. That is the most disingenuous, BS, racist argument I've ever heard, but I've heard it my entire life. This is what white people tell themselves very comfortably. Oh, it wasn't us. It wasn't my ancestors. It was those. It was. They're not the victims. They're the perpetrators. Don't you get it? So this is the message that racist whites hang on to in order to justify their racism, and it's terrible.
So this is all I got from the stitches, and the fact that some people are still very clueless to this very moment, or just that they are trying to escape from the reality. It's something that I really find very crazy, Looking at all these conservatives and coons trying to defend slavery, trying to let us understand that we actually sold our own, not knowing the chattel slavery, transatlantic slavery, and all that. So now let's get into this. The fact that they have refused, and I am not sure if they are ever going to agree that slavery was a horrible thing that happened to African Americans, right? Slavery was very horrifying. And they have decided not to be open about it, because when people choose to be open about some certain things, it means they have agreed that they did something. So let's look for a way to fix it. But if they have not agreed that they did something, so there is no how they would want to agree to fix it. That's where reparation comes. Why a lot of them do not even support or speak up on slavery, especially those conservatives that are always looking for a way to tap dance for colored people, right? So moving forward, I think that the best what they do or something is always look for a way to gaslight themselves, because I don't see how there is nobody telling them or trying to. They wake up every day to start a discussion, trying to tell you that Black people were the ones that started slavery, when you heard it from the other man, how we all started and all that. So in essence, they are telling us that we started slavery, and we started slavery, and at this point in time, we are waiting for white people to pay the price. How? And the first one that actually spoke said that her grandmother was sold by her father. I mean, there are some lies. The truth is that I really do want to see the grandmother, and I really do want to hear from the family, because he absolutely know that he is lying. He knew that this is not true. And the truth that they keep saying is that they keep telling us that we are stuck on it. And then wait for us to tell you that slavery was everywhere all over the world. I mean, it's really crazy how even Black people will come on the internet to gaslight other people on their experiences. Now, let's talk about reparations. We all remember that even Holocaust that happened, that did not happen in United States soil, they got reparations. So what is stopping them from paying reparations to the people that experienced that in United States soil? Because it's a little bit confusing, and it's only Black people that they are always very quick to ask and tell that I get over slavery, that it happened everywhere, and it's long ago it happened. But not even for a day have they ever woken up to tell the Jews or the Jewish people that get over Holocaust or get over 9/11. This is to tell you how everybody wants to be a speaker. Everybody wants to talk, especially on what happened to African Americans, or should I say Black people. If you go out, like, I think all of a sudden, sometimes it looks like they made plan. When you go to people's comment section, you see them saying that Black people sold their own too. And you people are always very quick to come and ask us or tell us, excuse me, ask us for reparations when you guys were the ones that sold yourself. The fact that they are still trying to deny the horrifying thing that they did to people that look like me, it's really crazy. But there is something that I found out. When that time you see people defending something that is very obvious, something that is documented, something that everybody knew the truth, when you see people defending such lies, I want you to know that these people are really very dangerous, because it's only a dangerous person that will see the truth from the bad and tell you that the truth is bad and the bad is truth. So all these men all these Black people, what was his name? Jeffrey Mead and some other conservative that always look for a way to tap dance and all that. I want you all to know that they are not going to pick you, because how do you expect them to pick you? Even Candace Owen, did you guys not hear what happened to her? They absolutely dropped her. At some point, we thought she was not a threat or anything to anybody, but you all saw what happened. She got dropped, and it's coming for all of you. But it's really crazy how they wake up to do things like that, but it is what it is. Because when you go to the comment section, it definitely will tell you the kind of followers they have. Very ignorant people. Because how can you be so ignorant and at the same time very proud? And I love it when people tell him loud, very loud and wrong, which he knows that he is. Dude, he really got to come to Tampa to know what happened there. He really needs to go there, Less like really. Somebody needs to get educated, especially on what is going on when it comes to history, because some of them actually burn their books or trash their books, especially when Florida said slavery was beneficial to Black people. Let's see you all in my next video. Bye for now.